welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you what we're doing for summer school this year. And so if you enjoy this type of content and other homeschool and lifestyle content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into it. All right, so normally I put out one of these videos of like what we're doing for summer and all that kind of stuff. Usually it's probably like a month or two ago I would have put it out. But this summer is a little bit weird compared to some, just because we're going to Africa in the fall, so it's kind of messed up our schedule, like a normal schedule we'd have. So we actually already took like a summer break for about 6 weeks, and we just started back to doing some school this week, and I'll explain what that kind of looks like. So I still consider, like, this is our summer school, and this is what we're doing for most of the rest of summer. We'll probably add some more things in as we get into August and stuff, but most of it will look like this. There'll be a few other small breaks just because my kids will have things that make it hard for us to do school certain weeks. So we already took a break. We're back to school. It's back to school already. But some people I know where we lived in Connecticut, they just barely got out for public school. So their summer just barely started. And so that might be the case for some of you guys too. With homeschooling, you might have just barely started your summer. So we are starting back to a little bit of school, and I'm gonna explain what that looks like. All right, so for about the next 6 weeks or so, for our group or family work, we are just doing scripture study, a read aloud, and science. And that's basically all. We might add in a few other things. We've been playing like a game, a card game or something that's sort of quick, just to do something together as a family. And I like doing that as well. So we've been incorporating that, and that's just twice a week. So it's not every day. It still gives me some like summer break time and gives my kids summer break time, but also provides some structured time so we're not all going crazy. So right now for science, we are doing space science. We just started it this week, and it's from The Good and the Beautiful, their space science. We did it a few years ago. It's probably been like 3 maybe-ish years. So we're doing that one again. And then when we're done with that one, I have ecosystems and kingdoms and classification. So we'll gradually work through those two as well until about the beginning of October. So that's kind of the goal. So for summer, we'll get through space and we'll start one of the next units probably. I planned it all out. If I looked at my planner, I would know, but that's kind of where we are right now. Going along with group work, my kids did start some of their individual subjects again. That is also only 2 days a week. So normally it'd be 4 days a week. So right now it's just 2, and they can pick. I think a lot of them are doing it Tuesday, Thursday, at least they did this week. And some weeks will look a little different depending on what we have going on. They might have to rotate or move the days they're doing it. And so Tuesday, Thursdays this week have seemed to work out pretty well. Almost all my kids can do their stuff independently. There's a few little things they might need help with. So it doesn't really require too much from me besides grading their schoolwork. If you follow me on Instagram, earlier this week, I posted that the pile of schoolwork was back, and I'm like, having to grade it. It's not horrible, but it's just one of those things where I'm just see the pile, and it's only every couple days. So again, it's not awful, but it's just, I'm like, I just don't want to have to grade their schoolwork. So the pile is back. I get to grade schoolwork. So another thing that we do during the summer is some sort of summer reading program. So for the past, I think 3 years, we've usually had like a chart, and if my kids read 5 days a week for the whole month, then we'll do some sort of activity together as a family at the end. This year has been a little bit of a slow start. We've had some busy things going on in June, and so we haven't had as much time. My kids still read all the time. They're just like in the habit of reading every single day, and that's what they do at night before bedtime. And so they just read a lot anyway, so they are getting in their reading. But something that I mentioned this in one of my videos, I can't remember which one it was, and asked for like resources for book recommendations for different age groups, because for my oldest 2 kids, we decided to pick, like, they can still read a whole bunch of books they want to, but we wanted to try to branch them out into different genres or different things they just wouldn't normally focus on and read. And so that's what we're doing. And my husband went through and picked 4 books for my 13-year-old boy and 4 books for my 12-year-old daughter. And we're just gonna let our 10-year-old kind of read and pick what he wants right now and see how this goes for my oldest 2 kids. And so the plan was kind of roughly a book a month, but again, since it's almost July and we're starting kind of late, that's not what's gonna happen. And some of the books are shorter. I'm gonna tell you the books he chose. And all of the books we either already have from the library, he just got a bunch at the library, or we already owned them. And so I'm gonna have to go through and see what's realistic. Like, do they need to read 10 pages a day to have them done maybe like halfway through the month, right? Have each book take about 2 weeks. Or if one's a lot longer, but then he has another one that's shorter, try to balance that out and make a plan. So then he will have it, my oldest especially, he likes to have everything outlined and have a plan. So then he can go through and do it. And he will do it if he has an outline. So I have him on my phone. I made my husband, he just left to go out of town. So I'm like, send me the list before you leave. Not that he can't while he's gone, but I knew I was filming this while he was gonna be driving to the airport. So for my oldest son, Mazer, he did The Westing Game, To Kill a Mockingbird, Animal Farm, and Bomb, the race to build and steal the world's most dangerous weapons. So I'm not familiar with all, like I've read To Kill a Mockingbird and Animal Farm a long time ago, but the other ones my husband is more familiar with. So at the end of him reading this, we'll have him do some sort of report for it, hopefully something that he's having to get up and speak in front of us to practice public speaking. He did have some backup books for him, so I'll give you those just in case you're looking for book options. One's The Boys in the Boat, which I love that book. It is so good. Again, we own that. And Then There Were None, also own that, love that book. Of Mice and Men, also own that. And then Unbroken. He was wondering if they had a like younger readers edition for that. I don't know if they do or not, but we own all of those ones as well. And I love Unbroken. It's amazing. So some really good ones on there. And then for my daughter who's 12, he did Island of the Blue Dolphins, which she already owns, Anne of Green Gables, which I think she did get one from the library, but I also believe I have one. I'd have to look over here on my bookshelf from the Good and the Beautiful's bookstore. And then The War That Saved My Life, I own that book. I love that book. And then Hidden Figures, which I haven't actually ever read. Did I see the movie? We did watch the movie, I believe. So I like know the story behind it, but those are the lists that he had. If I remember, I'll try to put them down below too. So if you wanted to look through them instead of just having me say them. So they'll read, they'll get through those things, and that'll be part of their summer reading. And then we'll have some sort of activity that we do together as a family to celebrate us all reading throughout the summer each month. Something else I'm trying to do this summer is to have some sort of activity or outing each week, which for some people they're like, what? Like we go and do stuff all the time. And there's a lot of people in our neighborhood that are on the go constantly, but I am a homebody. I'm not a person that just goes out and does a billion things all the time. There are certain things I'd like to do, but sometimes it's not realistic or it's hard to do everything with everyone or to work around nap time or all the things. So I'm trying to have like Friday mornings. It can't always be Fridays, but where we go do something. So again, some of this stuff shows up more on Instagram than it does here. So if you want to see it, it's just at Jackie Paulson and on Instagram, and you can follow there. But we walked to the park this last week and it was a long walk. And I want it to be a lot of stuff that's like either makes their brains think or is physical, like a physical activity for them. So we walked to the park and hung out at the park and then walked back home. This week, so tomorrow, since my husband is gone and I have a car, last week I did not have a car big enough for all of my kids, we are gonna go on it. It's more like a river walk. It's not quite a hike, but last year when just after ankle surgery, it was as much of a hike as I could do and it was still very hard for me. But this year I'm excited to be able to do it and not feel like I am dying. And then you can play in different parts of the river. So we'll do that in the morning for a few hours. And then next week, we're actually doing something in the middle of the week because we have other things going on. But a university that's a few hours away, so at BYU, in their It's called the MOA. It's art museum exhibit place there. I should know. I went to school there, but I'm like, I don't know what it stands for. I didn't do anything with art, but Museum of Art is probably what it stands for. But they have a whole bunch of activities going on throughout the summer. And so we're gonna go check that out. And my in-laws live close to that area, so we'll probably see them and hang out with them. And we always, like once a year, like to go walk around BYU because that's where we went to school. At least that's where I went to the second half of school for me. My husband went there all 4 years, but I went there for like 2.5 and graduated with my bachelor's degree. So we love to walk around. We love to go get ice cream there and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna do that. But another activity, I'm just giving you a few that I've thought of already in case you're thinking, wanting some too. But my husband, for the church camp he just went on, they just floated Oneida, which is in Idaho, and he said it was super fun. So we want to be able to do that as a family. So that's something that we'll try to do, and it's not super far away. And then also we live pretty close to Bear Lake, which is on the Idaho-Utah border, and that might be one of the bigger activities for like summer reading that we do, because it's usually like an all day go hang out at the lake, get milkshakes and that kind of thing. So those are just a few of the ideas and a few things that we've already done, but trying to just have something, you know, and some of them will be more simple than others and we won't require as much, but just to have something where we're going outside the house, doing something together as a family, or mostly a family if my husband can't come. And that's kind of the goal. So something else that is going on this summer is a whole bunch of church summer camps for my 2 oldest kids and my husband. So last year, my husband and son were the only one that had camp, and it was the same week because it's like divided by age group, and my husband was over my son's age group. Well, now my son is older, so my husband still has his group that he's over. My son has a different camp, and now my daughter is old enough to go to camp. So we went from 1 camp last year to 3 this year, and usually they're like 3.5 days long, so it's not like a whole week, but it's still a lot during the summer, which is why our June's kind of been busy. And then my oldest son also was old enough this year to go to a like Monday through Saturday. It's not a camp, it's called FSY. It's hosted at like universities, and for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a whole bunch of kids come together and have a bunch of fun together. It's a spiritual thing, but it's also just getting to know each other. You play lots of games, there's dances, there's tons of different things. So my son went to that at the beginning of June, and then it's just been like boom, 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 and my husband's out of town now. So it's just been boom, boom, boom the whole month. So that summer camps are taking up a lot of my kids' summer. So we're kind of working around that with schoolwork. If we can make it work the weeks they have camp, we do. If not, then we just won't do school stuff that week. But that's just something that's interrupting our schedule, but it's also part of our summer school, is them being able to go to these church camps. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that our screen time remains the same, whether it's summer or whether we're full-blown school. I know this might not be the case for everyone, especially if you have kids in public school, because now all of a sudden they just have a lot of unstructured time, or even homeschooling, because it's like you used to have a big chunk of time you were doing homeschool, and now they have just free time, which some kids might be old enough to work or do other activities. I still have young enough kids that they don't, but our screen time stays the same, which is like they can watch shows in the afternoon for a couple hours, and then once a week, each child has a day assigned that they get 1 hour of computer games, and that's it. They don't get to play video game like anything else. And so it doesn't change whether we have school or not. Like if they're bored, they can find things to do. We have different activities available that are just normally available. They can color, they can pull out some of the crafts, they can build something. They've done a lot of stuff with Legos. We have lots of diamond art. Okay, so there's lots of just available activities. They can just go, they're sitting on the front porch right now. They can just go sit outside. Okay, so there's just different things that they can do, but they don't get to be on screens. That's not an option for them to default to just being on screen. So I just wanted to mention that, like, it is doable. I know sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's the easiest thing, especially when you need to get things done. but giving them just other things to help with their boredom is better than letting them sit in front of a screen all summer long. All right, so that is what our summer school looks like this year, and it will transition into a little bit more work as we get into August, and then more work as we get into September before we have to leave and go to Africa in October. So it'll be a little bit weird and wonky this year, but we're making it work and still enjoying learning and having fun together. So put down in the comments what you do for summer school. Do you have some sort of learning that's going on even when you're not doing full-blown homeschool, or is it just like total break, which is sometimes what I would prefer, but isn't always best for all of us to just go like cold turkey, nothing. So let me know what you guys like to do. Remember to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.